I'm H.G. Tudor. I'm going to analyse a particular segment of the Windsor Walkabout involving flowers. Max Muller once stated, "A flower cannot blossom without sunshine, and a man cannot live without love." Well, it would appear in the clip there's no sunshine being shown, and there's certainly no love, because there's a narcissist at the heart of it all. Page 6, in an article by Leah Bitsky, commented upon the exchange, stating, "It was a floral fumble. Harry's wife was caught in an awkward moment involving a bouquet of flowers while mourning the loss of Queen Elizabeth II alongside her husband, Prince Harry, as well as Prince William and Kate Middleton." In a video captured by a mourner outside Windsor Castle on Saturday, Harry's wife was seen holding the bouquet when a royal aide approached her to ask whether he could take the flowers off her hands. Harry's wife appeared to decline the offer and told the aide she was going to put them down herself, before turning back to the crowd with the bundle still in her arms. But moments later, another aide walked up to take the flowers that Harry got from a member of the public, and then reached for Harry's wife's bouquet too. The Suits alum seemed to resist at first, but after the aide appeared to explain the situation, Harry's wife obliged and handed over the floral arrangement. The big guns had to step in when Harry's wife refused to let go of the flowers the first aide tried to take from her, as she herself wanted to walk them over to the other tributes, a fan account tweeted. Several Twitter users surmised that Harry's wife wanted to hold on to the flowers and place them down at the fence for photo op purposes. She wanted it for the optics, but it got squashed by people who know exactly what she's trying to achieve, one viewer tweeted, adding, "I'm thinking so she gets the money shot when she places the flowers down with the other floral tributes." She probably wanted to be captured and filmed when she walks alone. Put flowers over there and put an action. Actually, if you think about it, she really is a narcissist, always trying to make everything about her in every occasion. Glad she was stopped. A second agreed. She is absolutely classless. As simple as that, a third added. Other Twitter users, however, gave Harry's wife the benefit of the doubt, saying she was just trying to mourn the Queen in peace. Can't believe the Harry's wife bashing has started already. It's the first time she's experienced this, and was doing her best. She probably promised to lay the flowers down herself, and that's what she was going to do, till told by Harry it's all right to pass them over. One person tweeted in Harry's wife's defence. She probably didn't understand that the flowers are taken off them for safety purposes. After all, there could be a small explosive device, nerve gas, a poisonous insect, any number of things concealed in them, a second fan explained, of royal protocol. "Oh my God, stop it. Leave this poor woman alone, take a breath. This will play out as it will play out. Be glad the whole world isn't weighing in on every move you make. Enough already," one more wrote. Harry's wife, 41, and Harry, 37, joined William and Kate Middleton, both 40, to lay flowers outside Windsor Castle to pay tribute to the late monarch. So that's a summary of what occurred as per page 6, but why don't we have a look at the video footage? There are two instances. I'm going to play them, and then I'm going to take you through the analysis. Here comes the clip.
My dad kind of stole that.
There we have the footage. 2 instances, both of which slowed down so that you can savour the action. It's clear that many people still fail to grasp this concept. There's no such thing as a part-time narcissist. In certain instances where I explain the behaviour of a confirmed narcissist, there are still individuals who say, "Oh no, it's not the narcissism, they did it because of this." They don't. Believe me, everything, and I mean everything that we do or do not do in relation to another person, is governed by our narcissism. It doesn't pick and choose the moments when it applies. It always applies. If I'm sat in a room alone and pour myself a drink of whiskey, that is nothing to do with my narcissism. Because it's not needing to control anybody, because there's nobody around. There's no need for me to gather fuel. There's nobody around, and my fuel levels are at a decent level, so I'm not compelled to hoover somebody. I don't need to acquire character traits, nor do I need a residual benefit. And therefore, my narcissism is not applying when I'm on my own and not contemplating or having the actual involvement of another person. But when I'm contemplating the involvement of somebody else, my narcissism comes into play. So, for example, as I savour the whiskey, somebody might pop into my head, and my narcissism then has to determine, is this person under control? Answer, no. And then make a decision as to how that person is brought under control. Furthermore, I may also utilise the fact that I'm enjoying this particularly fine whiskey so that I log the information about it to utilise the information to assert control over somebody else at a later juncture by asserting control over them. With Harry's wife, when she's on her own and not contemplating the involvement of anybody else, her narcissism is not applicable, but everywhere else it is. And therefore, those that think, oh, well, she's new to all of this, and maybe she thought this, and so on and so forth, while she may well be new to it, although she has been involved in and around the royal family for a number of years, so to suggest that she's new to a walkabout is not particularly applicable. But the fact is, her narcissism is guiding her interactions with other people. Yes, other factors such as being tired will have an impact, but they sit alongside and are influenced by the narcissism. So, for instance, where a narcissist is tired, they may not be able to control the ignited fury as well as they might ordinarily do so. But it isn't the existence of fatigue that causes the reaction per se. It is the reaction is governed by the narcissism and can then be influenced by the fatigue. So a well-rested narcissist, where there's a threat to control, keeps the facade in place and therefore deals with the threat to control perhaps in a polite and charming fashion. A fatigued narcissist responds with irritation and a dismissive response. The fatigue influencing the ignition of fury. It's important for people to remember that there is no such thing as a part-time narcissist, and I see repeatedly in the comments people who fail in that regard and need to stop looking at the actions of the confirmed narcissist through their own world lens, an understandable mistake, but a mistake nonetheless, and start to realise the narcissist sees the world differently. With regard to the clips, as you see in the first one, the aide is explaining that he will take the flowers. This is pursuant to protocol. And it's worthwhile making this point. This is being done to help Harry's wife to take the burden of the flowers away from her. After all, they can soon pile up. And, as mentioned in the page 6 article, it might even be done to protect her as a consequence of there being something adverse lurking amongst the petals. However, even though this is done in a well-intentioned fashion to assist her, that is irrelevant with regard to her narcissism. Her narcissism interprets it as a threat to control, and therefore this prompts an ignition of fury to galvanize her into taking action by making her feel a particular way and think a particular way, so that she is then motivated to assert control and nullify the threat. This means we see an initial haughty response, a gesticulation from her arm, and then the facade kicks back in. It's the briefest of piercings of the facade, but it's there, demonstrating the ignition of fury that's lurking beneath, and the fact on this particular occasion the narcissism was not able to keep the facade wholly intact. It was only breached for the slightest of moments, which is more visible when the footage is slowed down. Nevertheless. And once it's occurred, there's a brief flash of the narcissism's response, and then it moves to the restoration of the facade. You saw the initial, albeit brief, ignition of fury more obviously in the slowed down version. In the second piece, in the second clip, initially, Prince Harry seems to be trying to stop the aide from approaching Harry's wife. Likely, this is the response of the individual who is in a sustained devaluation, who basically knows that approaching her is only going to end in tears before bedtime, an awkward and unpleasant response, and therefore is trying to keep the peace. Those of you who have been involved and entangled with narcissists will know on a repeated basis that, of course, you are often there as a peacekeeper, trying to ensure that nobody does or says the wrong thing in relation to the narcissist to cause a sudden kick-off, a sudden argument, a sudden tantrum. Prince Harry, conditioned by the repeated abuses that he has received and those of others, knows that the blue touch paper can be lit very promptly when it comes to his wife, and therefore seeks to avoid that by virtue of trying to block the aid at first. Nevertheless, she persists, and Harry's wife can then be seen gesticulating as she initially refuses to hand over the flowers. She's gesticulating into the distance, presumably suggesting she wants to place the flowers with the other tributes at the gates of Windsor Castle or wherever it is, and she then eventually hands them over. Here, the haughtiness isn't as obvious as it is in the first clip, but nevertheless there is the resistance to doing the right thing. This isn't driven by her thinking, oh, I just wanted to put them over there because I'm a nice person, although her narcissism will make her believe that. Her resistance is because somebody is telling her what to do, and her narcissism interprets that as a threat to control. Whether she intended to place them there for a photo opportunity is quite possible. After all, she will leverage any occasion to her benefit vis-à-vis the prime aims, and therefore, by placing those flowers down with the other ones so she can be seen to be doing this suitably contrite and compassionate act, would be utilised for footage, and therefore it's well within the bounds of possibility that she would engage in such behaviours. But the point is that with each aid, they were only trying to help her, but her narcissism interprets that as a threat to control and responds with a haughty response towards the aid in the first clip, and then with resistance in handing the flowers over in the second. The narcissism must ensure that she maintains that control and nullifies any threat to control while still gathering fuel and looking to preserve the residual benefits. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.